Hey everyone, we've got a seriously dangerous storm system heading toward the United States over the next few days, and this thing is going to bring a whole lot of problems. I'm talking about the potential for a severe weather outbreak, damaging winds, massive hail, and tornadoes. And some of those tornadoes could even be strong, but that's not all. This system is also going to create a major fire risk and could even bring blizzard conditions in some areas. So today, I'm going to break down everything you need to know about this storm system and what's coming in the days ahead. Now, let's dive into the severe weather potential over the next few days. Starting with today, we've already got a slight risk of severe weather across parts of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, and Louisiana. We're expecting a few storms to fire up tonight, and these storms could bring some pretty serious hail and maybe even an isolated tornado or two. And check this out. The Storm Prediction Center has actually put out a hatched risk for large hail. That means we could see hailstones as big as tennis balls. So if you live in those areas, definitely make sure your car is in a safe spot. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Now, Friday, this is where things start getting really concerning. The severe weather risk area on Friday is absolutely massive. One of the biggest I've seen in a while. We've got a marginal risk stretching all the way from central Minnesota down to the Gulf Coast. And there's now an enhanced risk covering Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Missouri, and parts of Iowa. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this gets upgraded to a moderate risk, maybe even a high risk as we get closer. But here's the thing. Friday's setup is going to be a little different from what we'll see on Saturday. On Friday, I think we're mostly going to see a big line of storms, what we call a Boeing segment, moving across the Midwest. That's going to bring damaging winds and embedded tornadoes. We might see a few isolated supercells early on or even overnight, especially in the deep south. But right now, it looks like the wind risk is the bigger deal on Friday. Saturday, though, that's a whole different story. Saturday has the potential to bring a significant severe weather outbreak, maybe even a full-on tornado outbreak. The Storm Prediction Center has already hinted that the risk will likely get upgraded, and we could see a moderate or even high risk issued. So what does that actually mean? Well, right now, there's an enhanced risk from the Gulf Coast up into Tennessee and a slight risk that extends into the Ohio Valley. We're talking about the potential for destructive winds, huge hail, and yes, significant tornado outbreak. Dixie Alley is going to be the big concern here, where we have a dangerous combination of wind shear, instability, and very high moisture levels. This setup is looking more and more like a recipe for a very dangerous day on Saturday. The only thing that could limit this would be morning storms messing up the environment for later development. But if those early storms clear out and the atmosphere stays primed, we could see multiple strong long track tornadoes developing Saturday afternoon and evening. And it doesn't stop there. Even on Sunday, the severe weather threat continues. There's already a slight risk from Pennsylvania down to Florida. And while this looks like more of a damaging wind threat, a few tornadoes will still be possible. I'll keep you updated as the forecast evolves. Now let's talk timing. For tonight's storms, I think things will start ramping up between 5 and 11 p.m., mainly in northeast Texas, southern Arkansas, and northern Louisiana. There's a lot of wind shear and instability in place, so an isolated tornado or two is possible. It's not a sure thing, but you should definitely have a way to get weather alerts just in case. As we go into Thursday morning, that activity should die down, but Friday is when the real action begins. By Friday morning, we'll see a powerful low pressure system moving over the Rockies, bringing crazy strong winds to Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. I'm talking wind gusts up to 80 MP. And that's not even from the storms yet. That's just from the pressure gradient. Friday afternoon and evening is when the severe weather really gets going. I'm expecting a big line of storms to form in the Midwest, stretching from southern Missouri up into Iowa and Minnesota. We'll see damaging winds and embedded tornadoes in that line. And there's also a chance for isolated supercells in the deep south, which would bring a greater risk for long track tornadoes. Saturday is shaping up to be even worse. We're looking at a major severe weather event in the southeast. Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Georgia are all in the bullseye. If the atmosphere stays clear in the morning and we see storms fire up in the afternoon, we could be looking at several strong long track tornadoes. It's not a guarantee, but the ingredients are definitely coming together for a dangerous day. At the same time, we're also watching for potential blizzard conditions in parts of Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota, and back in the Ohio Valley, damaging winds and maybe a tornado or two will be possible on Saturday evening. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button, like this video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Sunday, the storm system pushes east, and while the tornado risk should drop off, damaging winds will still be a big concern all along the East Coast. By Monday, things should finally start quieting down, but don't get too comfortable because another storm system could be right behind this one by late next week. On top of that, this storm is going to dump heavy rain, bring strong winds to the higher elevations of the southern Rockies, and even deliver some heavy snow totals out west. But the truly dangerous part of the system doesn't materialize until it crosses the Rockies and starts developing into a deep, powerful, low-pressure system in the plains. We're potentially looking at a record-breaking low-pressure system here. Definitely one of the top 10 mid-latitude cyclones for March. And check out these winds over 100 MP on the southeast side of the jet stream. The storm's going to tilt negatively, and that's going to create an incredibly efficient transport of Gulf moisture and cold Canadian air mixing together to create an absolute beast of a storm. We're talking destructive severe weather.
Yeah.
A multi-day severe weather event stretching from the deep south through the Ohio Valley, maybe even into the East Coast. We're talking a serious wildfire event in Texas and Oklahoma. And we're talking a full-blown blizzard up in the northern plains and into Manitoba. It's all going to happen pretty much at the same time. Classic springtime storm setup. Friday's when the low-pressure system is going to be at its deepest. But Saturday looks really interesting. The trough becomes bigger and more robust, digging farther south and staying negatively tilted, which keeps pulling in plenty of Gulf moisture and shooting it all the way up into Canada. That's going to keep the severe weather threat going into Saturday and possibly even into Sunday. In fact, I think Saturday could be our biggest day. And then Sunday, the East Coast needs to stay on alert. But let's focus on the short term for now. Our little cleaner storm is coming through Wednesday evening, and that's when we'll see some severe weather firing up in southeast Oklahoma, northeast Texas, and western Arkansas. It's mostly going to be a hail threat, but around 5 p.m. We'll likely see some supercells popping up from Dallas down toward Austin. Most of these will be elevated storms, so we're looking at downpours and hail, but we can't rule out a tornado or two, especially closer to southeastern Oklahoma. Still, this is more like an appetizer round ahead of the main event. That main event kicks off Friday, March 14th. We've already got a day 4 enhanced risk of severe weather from Peoria, Illinois, stretching down past St. Louis into western Kentucky, Memphis, and the mid-Mississippi River Valley. Slight risk extends all the way up to Minneapolis and all the way down the Gulf Coast. One thing holding this storm back on Friday is the moisture. That cleaner system coming through Wednesday and Thursday is going to knock those dew points down. So when this big cold front and dry line sweep in on Friday, there won't be quite as much moisture to work with. But don't let that fool you. There's still a lot of potential here. This setup reminds me a lot of March 31, 2023, one of the biggest tornado outbreaks in U.S. history. The difference this time is we won't have quite as much moisture reaching as far north, but we could still see enough instability for severe storms, especially down south. And the wind shear is definitely there for tornado development. The worst part, a lot of the severe weather will happen overnight. Around 1 a.m. Saturday, those storms will likely be hitting places like Memphis. And that's always a dangerous situation when people are asleep. Saturday is the day I'm most concerned about. We've already got a 30 risk of significant severe weather from Chattanooga down through Alabama and into Atlanta. And as the low-level jet stream cranks up, we're going to see some powerful wind shear combined with ample moisture, setting the stage for what could be a major tornado outbreak. Sunday brings even more severe weather across the East Coast, with a slight risk stretching from eastern Pennsylvania and southern New Jersey down to the Florida Panhandle. And it's not just severe weather we're watching. There's going to be a ton of snow out west, with parts of California possibly seeing over 100 inches. The northern plains could see blizzard conditions with powerful winds and blowing snow. We also need to watch the rainfall. Places like Northern California and southwestern Oregon could see flash flooding and landslides. And the Appalachian region from northern Alabama up into Virginia could see 3-4 inches of rain, enough to cause some serious flooding. Finally, we've got a major wildfire threat from New Mexico up through Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas. Historic winds combined with bone-dry conditions are going to create an extremely dangerous fire situation on Friday and Saturday. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.